Welcome back to Cask and Point. Today we are trying some really old dusty wild turkey. Now, in a previous video I tried Wild Turkey Tradition, which is from the mid-1990s, starting in 1993 or 94, and then ending in 1997, but that was an export and duty-free only release, and it was delicious. But this is good old classic wild turkey. This is the 80 proof, this is the Austin Nichols bottle. I'll put a photo here on your screen, but this is just the standard stuff that people were drinking in the 1980s and 1990s. And these actually command a lot of money on secondary. For the 1991, it's probably between $300 and $400, but as you go earlier, every single year is going to increase $10 or $20. And so by the mid to early 1980s, you're looking at $500, maybe even $600 for a bottle of this. And people are actually drinking this stuff too. It's not purely for collection material. So really interested to see today what was really just totally standard whiskey in 1991 and how it stacks up against some whiskey that we have tried in the last few weeks and months here. So let's get right into it. On the nose, the most prominent note is going to be maple. There's actually a lot of maple on this. I typically say caramel on the whiskeys, but this is definitely much more maple. There's a little bit of honey, a strong vanilla note too, a really pleasant vanilla note. There's some pepper, like a rye spice and pepper on this one. I got like an allspice actually. There's a little bit of cinnamon in there too. That's interesting. And then there's definitely a berry flavor in there, like a blackberry, blueberry flavor. Not really any red fruit. I'm not getting really anything on this. Maybe a very light medicinal cherry, but not much at all. Now, I'd say maple is the most dominant note on this one, with a little bit of vanilla in there. There's pepper, there's cinnamon, there's rye spice, and then there's some, like, really playing in the back, some dark berry flavors. And that smells really nice. Let's try it. That's interesting. That's interesting. Definitely has a lot more flavor than I would have thought. Definitely way better than what I imagined was a $10, $20, $30 bottle back in the 1990s. And just like a cheap shelfer. This is actually really good. It's not blowing me away. I mean, you can feel the 80 proof on this. Now, this is actually another sample from my good buddy Nax. We've done quite a few videos already from the sample split that he did with Liquid Ministry. Definitely check them out. They're amazing guys, and they have the coolest sample jars in the game. But yeah, this is really, really nice, but it's definitely feeling 80 proof. Like, it's definitely not giving you a ton of punch on that. But let's take a second sip, and then let's talk about some more tasting notes. Yeah, so the maple is a little bit less strong in the palate. Pepper's definitely there a lot more. There's some oak in there, not a whole lot. Some caramel, a little bit of plums and cherries, but not much. It's okay. It's not blowing me away. And definitely, I think on the second sip, it definitely toned down a lot more. This is nowhere close to a $300 or $400 bottle. This is nowhere close to a $100 bottle, in my opinion. Actually, it might be a lot closer to a $100 bottle, but there isn't a ton of musty oak on this. This isn't tasting like a nice dusty whiskey, which is kind of understandable. This whiskey this is not age stated, but it's probably between 4 and 6 years old, and obviously sitting in a bottle for 30 years as well. They say whiskey doesn't age at all in the bottle, and that is scientifically true, but people suspect that there is a little bit of dusty funk that a lot of these older bottles have, and maybe that's just how whiskey tasted 40 years ago. Nobody can really know, because even the people that drank whiskey back then, their palates have changed so much, how can they really remember? But yeah, there's definitely not really any of that dusty funk on this, unfortunately. I mean, this is a 33-year-old whiskey, which is a good bit older than I am, and it's good, but I don't know, it's not blowing me away, but it is good. It is good. It's very interesting. It tastes like way better than any normal wild turkey that I've had, in 2024. Like, this is going to be better like the Wild Turkey 70th Generations for sure, better than Wild Turkey 12-year. But it's good stuff. It's good stuff. It's just not really going to blow you away with the proof. I mean, it is 80 proof. This is probably the lowest proof whiskey that I've had in months. But anyways, let's take a third sip here, and then we're going to give it a rating like we always do at Cask and Point. Yeah. So maple, some plums, some pepper, a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of rice spice. Finish is short to medium. It's good. It's a totally solid daily sipper. Like, I would say that this is going to beat out kind of your classic examples of like Henry McKenna 10. I think there is a really impressive amount of flavor given that proof, but it is still 80 proof. And it's not blowing me away. I wouldn't pay close to secondary on this. I wouldn't recommend you do either, but I think the greatest fault of this versus what I expected is that I really did expect a lot more of that musty oak and that kind of like a dusty flavor to it. And I mean, we're trying 80 proof whiskey that was like 4 years old, that was a bottom shelfer basically back in 1991 to my understanding. So it's hard to expect a lot of things, but it was really cool to try this with you guys here today. Would not recommend it. Today I would rate this a 7.1. It's a good daily sipper. Wouldn't go much more than that. Wouldn't pay more than maybe 60, 70, 80 bucks for it. But because of the story and the fact that it's 1991, maybe I pay 100 for it, but I'm not going to find it for $100, so I'm going to stay away. But thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will catch you all in the next one. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day.